that was so funny.
Although her bosun skills actually.
Oh, I hate this.
Good setup.
You know us?
I usually find so
Our boss is still stands. Publicity. Good publicity.
It's our first test.
Usually, like, when you start on the playing hard, I would say troll, I would say hater.
I didn't say troll. I would say our official like business is long.
Maybe on the side.
I never had that.
Hell, I didn't have
Yeah, we got tendencies. High five.
You want to get up there and get on
Yeah, probably like 10 minutes.
So I'll just stand here and entertain you guys until somebody else entertains you.
Oh, he did do a picture.
I'm the video guy. We're going to be live streaming.
Real live stream?
Well, hold on.
Does anybody have a problem with their voice being on tape or being on YouTube? Because I don't think, unless you stand up and it catches the back of your head, or if you turn around, then it shouldn't be on either of these cameras probably too much.
I don't want to be on YouTube.
Okay. Oh, you do? We're streaming right now because it's our first actual real event that we live stream. We tape a lot of events, but it's the first time we're actually putting up something we're putting up on live. I've done some other file outputs from the other deck I'm doing stream ads, so
We're going to put a message on the back of your head, right?
What's that?
Hi, Mom.
Oh yeah. Ma, where's Ma? Pretty sure I buried her ass in this last dog.
We'll just do another.
Adam.
Another 7.
What's up, Brad?
Does anybody have juggling balls? I can juggle. So we're ready.
I only have 2.
Play the piano.
I apologize if anyone got screwed up on the meetup. I accidentally deleted this meetup, and then I had to re-get it.
Oh, is that what happened?
I was trying to, it got duplicated. So I was trying to delete one of them, and then it just vanished. And I'm like,
So we're good. Is James Kirk Walls is back up?
I got them all back.
First meetup?
I got them all back.
Oh,
So what about people that had joined them?
I had to re-RSVP people, so people on there saw, like, you got automatically RSVP for the event that was me, just like plugging people in there. I was like, I wasn't hacking anyone.
I'm
trying to do this in here.
So cool. I love Senator
So I posted this. I was.
What about you, Kelly? What brought you here today?
Well, there was
I just moved back to Southeast Wisconsin. I was in college up in Eau Claire. I just went out and I was like, I don't have any friends and people I know in the area. Like literally, like all of my friends are now long distance because they're all college and everyone was first.
So did you find it on Meetup?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I don't know if you look through all the stuff, but we do have, like, we have cup trivia, we do
I was going to do the trivia thing because I actually live in Sturman.
I know, and that's what I thought. I thought
Yeah, we
people
did
would
the
be right
trivia
into
crew. We tried to get around 7 to 7:30, so if you just kind of wander around, Rob's over there first. And then I'm usually there, Joe is not there today, but.
I love trivia and I always try to get people to go and do it once.
Do you know anything about country music?
Like a little bit, because like when I was in high school, like that's what I've listened to, and I kind of got
Because those are
ingrained
the
into it.
questions we keep listening is country music.
I hear that question like a Batman signal.
I used to be the
Well, you know what country music?
Like, oh, everyone's like that. No, never mind. Like when I was in high school, that's what everyone listened to, so that's what I listened to. I can get some stuff probably.
So if you ever want to just join us, that's perfectly fine. We usually have about 4 or 5 people.
I was
So
right.
keep an eye on us.
I'll try not to brush up my country music, but I guess I'll try to remember everything I know from like when I was like
We pretty much
13.
just gave up on country. We just think we're going to get those wrong.
And you
you better make sure they're
Yes,
shut.
probably.
You have an online audience
Like,
now
the
too.
town I
There's
grew up in,
like 3
like, right
people
in
watching.
town, it's also kind of I think that's left itself.
Okay.
So that's like everyone wants to be something.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Those are pretty good. Those
And then I realized like even songs that aren't about God are about God. And I was like, no, that's not real life music hour.
Yeah, we got that, and then we started like Greek roots, we need any help with that, but that's started.
No, but I even saw that. It was like, that's a really cool thing. I even like read this article actually earlier today about like a mother who like her kid died suddenly and like she was an atheist. Like the tale of heaven actually. Nope, it's not.
Yeah, and that's kind of how it came about. Was they were inspired by a very similar situation. Several of the girls wanted to start something. I mean, Joanne, who isn't here, she did a presentation 2 weeks ago about grieving and atheism and like how people who don't probably agree.
Also, you just like in the article, like I mentioned from the Facebook group.
Okay. Yeah, that's part of it too, is like finding groups of similar people in similar situations. So yeah, so if you're interested in seeing that. We also, if you're interested in becoming a member, we do like operations meetings on Sundays. Put on a few events like that, debates we have. We meet up. A couple members are going to school. And it's the reason now. And June and DC. So stuff like that.
I need a full time job.
Exactly.
That's what I need first.
It kind of becomes a part-time job to get so involved.
And so I'm like, I need a full-time job for like where I can actually pay and create things better.
But yeah, so that's something you're interested in getting into too, and I'm sure we'll talk about it a little bit too before it starts, but that's stuff to look into, so.
You always wonder, you seem like
Always look at new places, so.
Oh wait.
So anyway, what I would do is I would show my soul like
You're looking at you like, okay, but you don't know what's going
That's what I hear.
But to file off like a big measurement rate, that's correct, like exactly, like we get
You know what? I was saying, Lawrence, it's not just me. How come everyone thinks this is on Black Ireland? Why does everyone think everyone thinks this is on Black Ireland? Again.
Why would you talk
He's not being once more. This is
We could be hearing about it.
You're funnier than me. That was funny. Good one.
And then I'm like, how are you? How are you?
I'm like, the most I know about it is probably when you're Kevin's best
Talk to Brian.
like show Cosmology. Come on. Like, it was on there, but I'm not watching. I watched like one episode. It's not even somewhere.
This is the one that's
Even if he didn't,
Well, definitely a story.
So happy at garage now. Yeah, garage.
Sorry guys.
Last year, so
that's what you're talking about, Brad.
It is very long.
Yeah, I know it. So
Kevin's first thought of
there you go.
Okay. All right, Lawrence, we're gonna have to go before the projector dies.
All right, Rob, you ready?
talk again.
technology works.
I don't know.
I thought this was a new projector.
I've been doing my YouTube videos, sci-fi as well.
Shut up, Chris.
So, it's a little boring.
Poor Chris.
It's hot because it's so slow.
It's so magic.
Shut that after we get started.
You see the work.
Thanks for coming, everybody. The Tuesday discussion group that happens every 14 days.
Fortnite.
A fortnight, in fact. Una quincena. But it's been growing, and we really appreciate it. New faces again. Probably a few people stayed away from the weather. We're actually trying a new bit tonight, streaming live as we do this. So this is a bit of a test to see if it works. And Adam is the videographer, and his helpers do a great job with all of that. We're Mythicist Milwaukee. We have the MASH page, Milwaukee Atheist Skeptics and Humanists, that you find this meetup on. And this is now Milwaukee Cooperative. It's an office space that we share, as you can tell. Used to be called Bucket Works. Everybody get used to the new name. We should treat it with its due respect. It's now Milwaukee Cooperative. Everybody needs to cooperate and help keep it clean. It's not just us. And we don't have a janitor, so if you make a little mess, please use the receptacles afterwards, and don't be a dirty bird. But there's about a million things to say and remind everybody of. One of the big ones is Buzz Belief. It's free, and it's at an establishment which will offer plenty of imbibables. So there's no excuse for all of you not to be there. I tease, of course, the new people who don't know me yet. I do that a lot, but please try to make that. It's on March, what is it on?
19th.
19th, thank you, people, at Shank Hall. Richard Carrier and Justin Bass. He's actually an evangelist. I can't wait to see what he could possibly have to say.
Debating
Richard Carrier, if any of you know Richard Carrier at all. He can really go. So that'll be interesting, but please do what you can to make that event. It'll be really cool.
Super Bowl of atheism versus theism. Carrier's favored by 5.5 points.
It's more like one of the divisional rounds, isn't it?
Yeah.
Super Bowl's not till October. I think
Okay.
we can call it the championship game, but yeah, the big one's in October. Everybody that want to be at that one. Robert Price and Bart Ehrman on the actual historicity of Jesus. One of the million things that we've got our fingers in, and all of it needs your help. If you're like what we do, go to the webpage and consider joining. We have a membership link, and there's a couple of ways to do that. You can go to Patreon as well. I host a podcast with my cohort Brian, and every Sunday we do that, and that occupies this space too. It's fairly affordable, but we're looking for members to help. $8 a month is all you would need to do to become a member. You get some swag with that, and you help us pay for this cool space that we can all meet up. It's not an obligation. Everybody's welcome to join this meetup free, and it is out there for all free thinkers and skeptics and those who feel oppressed by religion to just come and be with other people who don't judge you based on your lack of faith in a higher power.
And those that are religious as well.
Indeed. Similarly oppressed, though, I might add. Tonight we have, skip anything we need to really touch on?
No.
Those are the main points. We do about a billion other things, videos, movies, social networks. Find us on all the media.
Batman and Jesus.
Yes, Joe. Yes, thumbs up on YouTube and what?
Facebook, Twitter.
Give us a thumbs up, man, on all our media. Anyway, we present tonight, for your listening pleasure, his second trip to the podium to espouse his special blend of wackiness and science fiction with Big Bang Cosmology. I know some of you are here because you think he made a porn. No. It's really going to be about the Big Bang.
I mean, I did, but that's for...
Without further ado, welcome back, Lorence Yufa, Brother Lorence. We really appreciate it.
Okay.
Part two.
What if it's going to work? I sure hope it does.
This is the fun of technology, right? Is it not working?
No, I mean, it's starting up.
No.
It's not? All right.
It's searching.
There you go. That should go. Should go. No? Alright. Well, just introduce it. Alright.
There it is.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
Anymore.
You're not my supervisor. Okay. Alright. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me and us here at our little family. This is going to be a hard topic for me to talk about because I've never done this kind of talk before. I've always done more of philosophical talks. I've always done stuff on theory of religion, stuff like that. This is my first actual discussion on the Big Bang. There's a lot of stuff about the Big Bang. Many of these things you may know, some of which you may not. Some things I omitted because I didn't think they were that important, and then I added in some other things. But the point of this talk is just to demonstrate how we know the Big Bang happened and the importance of all these discoveries. All right, so it was a dark and stormy night. And Albert Einstein had just finished developing his general theory of relativity in 1916. But there was a problem. His theory described a universe we didn't live in. His theory described a universe that was moving. At the time, in 1916, it was common knowledge to think that the universe was static. So his math didn't really go with observation at the time, which used to bother physicists. And so the part about this theory is that it was the first theory of the geometry of the universe. It was the first theory that showed the universe can actually bend in the presence of matter. So he added a term to his theories. We call that the cosmological term. All right, so this is just a rough breakdown. We're not going to have to do any crazy math or anything. So on one side, we have a curvature, and that is equal to energy and momentum, to some ratio of it. So this was his original equation, but then that described the universe we didn't live in. So he added this term right here. And that actually, we'll get back to that term later, but he had to actually move it from one side to the other, not because moving that term is hard. Most of us can do that. But it means something totally different on one side.
What's the A? Is delta GUV or something? What is it?
What? Oh, that's lambda.
Oh, it's a lambda.
Yeah.
What is that? How do you say that?
Lambda.
No. Lambda GUV.
Well, it's actually lambda G mu V, but I didn't really want to copy and paste the mu in there, so we're going to go with you. All right. But anyways, on one side, it describes a property of the universe, and on the other side, it describes some function within the universe acting towards its curvature. And that's important, and we'll get back to that later. All right, so now we go to probably my favorite person of all time, Edwin Hubble. Raise your hand if you know who Edwin Hubble is. Okay, good turn out there. All right, he always gives me hope in humanity, because he started out life as a lawyer and then became an astronomer. So there's hope yet. So he went out in somewhere in the 1920s, I forget when exactly, and he looked out into the sky at the largest telescope at the time, and he was just looking up at the sky for years, a noble tradition. And this is what he saw. Or I'll explain to you what he saw. But in order to get a good idea of what's going on, we have to go outside the universe. We can't do that. I mean, Republicans can, but we can't. We live here in the universe, in reality. So we have two universes here. And these are just galaxies. These dots are galaxies. Universe at time 1 and a universe at time 2. And as you can see, it's expanding, right? All right. And now here is what Hubble discovered. If you take any one of these galaxies and superimpose the image of one onto another, you see the same thing. Galaxies that are twice as far away are twice the distance. Galaxies that are 3 times as far away are 3 times the distance. And it doesn't matter which universe you pick. It's all going to look the same. So what that really shows us is that the universe is expanding, the entire universe. I mean, you could take this to mean that you're the center of the universe, depending on your mood. But it really shows that the universe is expanding, and that's the important part. All right, so how do we discover this? We have to talk about something called redshift. To know if something is moving away from us at these great distances, we have to look at its light. In the first example here, we have a galaxy, no expanding universe, and the light comes in how it normally would. Whatever light you would see is the light you would get. And then you have a galaxy moving away. As the universe expands, the light expands with it. You can think of it like this. If you take a rubber band and draw a wavelength on it, and then you have someone stretch it out, the entire wavelength would expand. The entire wave would expand with it. So as the universe expands, we get something called redshift, and this is what you'd see. If something is moving, and this is, we'll call this star A, whatever, I don't care. If it's moving further away from us, everything is shifted towards the red part of the spectrum. So we see it slightly to the right, or slightly towards the red. And if something's moving closer to us, the light condenses, and it's called blue shift, and that means it's moving towards us. All right, so it's easy to measure speed, but it's difficult to measure distance. The universe is so huge. How do we measure something? We don't have, rulers or tape measures that go that long, so how do we measure this? We have to find these things called standard candles. And standard candles are very important. And I'll go over that in a second. But what I do want to just tell you guys, because it's an interesting fun fact, is that Hubble measured the expansion of the universe off by a factor of 10. Which means that he measured the expanding universe to be about 1.5 billion years. He measured the universe to be 1.5 billion years old. And at the time, it was already known that Earth was 4.5 billion years. So it was quite embarrassing that the universe was younger than the Earth. And it led a lot of people to believe scientists didn't know what they were talking about. All right, so here are our standard candles. So in every single one of these galaxies, these little bright spots, those are supernova. Now, this kind of supernova, it's called a type 1a supernova, has an intrinsic brightness that we understand. And as it moves further away, we get less and less light from it. But we know its intrinsic brightness, so we can work backwards and get its distance. If I had a 100-watt light bulb and had it in the back of the room, I know its intrinsic brightness. And if I had a light meter over here, I could tell you exactly how far away it was, because I'll tell you how much light we're getting, and I know that it's a 1 over the square of distance. So we could work backwards and figure out exactly how far away the light was. All right, and this is probably the greatest accident in all of physics. So the standard model we had at the Big Bang at the time predicted that there should be this leftover radiation from the beginning of the universe. And it was called the cosmic microwave background. But the thing is, it was discovered completely by accident. These two gentlemen over here, you probably don't see them, but they're there. I assure you they exist. I forget their names. But this was their radio telescope. And honestly, I'll tell you, I forget what they were doing. But no matter where they pointed this giant telescope, there was some noise. There was some noise that they couldn't get rid of. They heard the same thing every single place they pointed it. So they were like, what's going on? So they reattached some cables. They thought maybe it was bird poops, and they cleaned out the telescope, the radio telescope. And still, they got the same thing. What they had accidentally discovered was this. Not exactly this, but some version of this. This is the cosmic microwave background. It is the leftover radiation from the Big Bang. This is a picture of the universe at what it looked like when it was 380,000 years old. Incredibly young for a universe. If it's a baby picture, now you think, oh, 380,000 years, that's really old. It's like Bill O'Reilly old. But no, actually, if the universe was an 80-year-old man, 380,000 years would be about 19 hours old. So it's really a baby picture of the universe. All right, so we can learn a lot of stuff from just the cosmic microwave background. One of the most important things we can learn is the curvature of the universe, and this is pretty important. And this is actually what I need this board for. All right, so there are 3 possible states the universe can exist in: open, closed, or flat. Now, what the hell do I mean? Obviously, the universe is somewhat round. It's everywhere. What do I mean by open, closed, and flat? What do I mean by the geometry of the universe? It all matters about how light travels within that universe. So I'm not very good at drawing 2D, 3-dimensional objects, so we're just going to call this a sphere. And this is what an open universe looks like, more like a saddle. And here's a flat universe. This is more Euclidean. This is something I don't understand. And this is also something I don't understand. All right, but the important part is that we can figure out the curvature of the universe by drawing triangles. And this is actually pretty important. On a closed surface, if I had a globe or something, here I'll call that a 90-degree angle. And we can travel all the way down and have another 90-degree angle. Go, a quarter of the way west or east, whatever, it doesn't matter, and go all the way back up. Now what we discover is on a curved surface, you can have a triangle with 3 right angles. Now, Euclidean geometry doesn't tell us that. I mean, what are you supposed to get in Euclidean geometry? 180, right? This gives you what, 270? Or more, depending on how big of a triangle you draw. Then we can go to an open universe. What would a triangle look like in that? I'm not going to draw it up here, I'm just going to draw it down here. But it would look more curved. The lines at the end here would converge. And the lines up here would actually diverge. We'll get to that later. In the flat universe, perfectly normal. It's just a regular triangle. Things we're used to. All right, so how do we figure out what shape our universe is in? All right, well, we need to use this thing called the density parameter. And what that is, and I'm going to use some physics jargon here. All right, it's the amount of stuff in the universe divided by the amount of stuff needed to make a flat universe, or to actually make a universe that would stop expanding. So it looks kind of like this. And whenever we have an important number in physics, we give it a Greek letter to sound smart. So here we have omega. We call that number omega. So we have omega equals the amount of stuff. So that's omega p over omega c, and that's the critical density. So how do we figure that out? So we look at some region of space. Let's say here we're looking at a region that's 380,000 light years across, for example. And here's U. Who wants to be this dot? Anyone? Ah, Joe. Okay, Joe's going to be the dot. All right, we're going to make that a little smaller then. All right. So we look out into the universe. In a flat universe, the light should travel straight. So we would see X amount of galaxies. In an open universe, the light would diverge at the end and we'd see less galaxies. And in a closed universe, the light would converge at the end and we'd see more. Are you guys following me so far? That's how this works? Okay. So, turns out that, oh, that popped up. Okay. Turns out that the universe we live in, from our other models, turns out the universe is flat. And here is more we can do with that. So here we have 3 simulated universes. And here we have the actual cosmic microwave background. So we compare them. In a closed universe, it should look like this. Flat universe and open, that's how they should look. And it most closely resembles what? A flat universe. So we know we live in a flat universe. All right, so that was a pretty important stepping stone in cosmology. Now we can talk about probably the last important one, gravitational waves. This one is actually still being debated because it was maybe 2 years ago that they discovered this. So it's still debated, but if we found what we think we found, it's huge. We have a picture of the universe and what it looked like at about 10 to the negative 35 seconds. If it turns out we have what we have. All right, so think about it like this. When you wiggle a charge, you get electromagnetic radiation. You have an electron, you wiggle it, and it gives out the light. It gives out light, and that's electromagnetic radiation. The same way, when you wiggle a mass, you get a gravitational wave. Gravitational waves propagate, and you get the same type of wave, in a way. That's just an easy way to think about it. All right, so what are these lines here, and what the hell do they mean? They actually show the polarization of atoms or molecules in the early universe. So or at that time it would be subatomic particles, but either way, that shows they show polarization. If mass is moving one direction, it looks like the red one. If mass is moving another direction, it looks like the other one. So we can tell, we can look at the actual gravitational waves coming out, propagating from the Big Bang, in theory. So when we look at it, what do we find? We see exactly what we thought we would find. This is an actual diagram. You can see that whatever I had as blue, it goes the right way, the way that it should go, and anything in red, it goes the other way. It's exactly what we would expect to see. The polarization lines up just how we thought it would. And this is a very small part of the sky, by the way. So we'll keep that in mind. All right, so what do we know? We know that the universe is expanding, we know that it's flat, and we know that the Big Bang happened. So now we can talk about the future of the universe. It's pretty grim, it's pretty dark, so I will enjoy it. I'm not sure about the rest of you though. As things expand away, they will eventually end up expanding away faster than the speed of light. Now, that's because space is expanding. Space itself can expand as fast as it wants. It's just stuff in space can't expand faster than the speed of light. So eventually, the stuff that we see at the cosmic microwave background, the light rays will be stretched out so much that they will be the size of the observable universe, and we will not be able to see them. So that's part one. Part two.
So we won't be able to see any stars.
We won't be able to see anything that far away at that point. But eventually, we won't be able, and this is far in the future, so just assume all the galaxies in our local cluster have already clumped up together. Let's just assume that. And that's in what, 150 billion years we'll call it? Okay, so in 150 billion years, you won't see any other galaxy. Everything outside of our cluster will be gone. We will not be able to see it. And then in about 2 trillion years, the entire universe will be invisible. We will not be able to see anything outside of what is here. And that leads to the inevitable death of the universe. You can imagine how much it sucks if one part of the universe can't get information from the other part. You could imagine us not getting heat from the sun. That would suck, right? Eventually, all the stars will die out. They will not be able to form new ones. And all the particles that exist will decay. And that's it. That's the future of our universe. The inevitable heat death. So it's grim and depressing, but we know it's going to happen. So that's all for now, and enjoy your time while it lasts.
When do the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse come?
Right after the heat death. Any questions? Not you, no, just think. What's up, Joe?
So when you're talking about the cosmic background radiation to figure out which universe we have, you kind of did like a side-by-side comparison of what each one would look like. How did they create those hypothetical cosmic background radiation?
pretty much just like this. Just with algorithms and stuff I don't understand. So.
What was...
No, he was start talking first. You shut up. Okay.
Well then... You mentioned the charge wiggling, creating electromagnetic energy, and then you mentioned mass having to wiggle to create a gravitational wave. How is that?
Well, it always propagates. Gravity waves propagate at the speed of light. So if mass were to stay stable, we wouldn't know it was there all the time. We wouldn't know there was something changing about it. Now, if it were to wiggle, the gravitational wave would wiggle along with it. And now, Chris.
Okay. You were mentioning something about, we were talking about an article, the second expansion period. What was that about?
Okay.
Because that sounds relevant to this.
Yeah. I kind of omitted that, but we can talk about that. There is a new hypothesis, pretty new, like what, within the past month? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about a second inflationary period. A second inflationary period. And I didn't even talk about inflation. So that's a much longer talk. But inflation is basically a very quick expansion of the universe, incredibly fast. And it solves two of our problems, actually, in cosmology. So it's a pretty standard thing to talk about when you're talking about the Big Bang. You talk about inflation. But what there was a second inflationary period, according to one study, that took place shortly after. And honestly, I forgot what it was supposed to explain and why. So I can't talk about that too much. But second inflationary period, you can look that up.
Why was Hubble off so much? Like, what did he do?
Because
not have good enough instruments?
He didn't have good standard candles. He was looking at stars in our galaxy, thinking that they were standard candles. He didn't have the technology that we do now, pretty much. He didn't have good standard candles.
And they wouldn't know.
He was looking at our galaxy thinking that was the entire universe.
At the time.
They didn't have deep field.
Yeah.
And they would have known, like, by carbon, or not carbon dating, but other kinds of radioactive dating what the age of the Earth was at that time. So.
Yeah, at the time they did have their ways.
And to figure out the shift of planets and all that with the stars, and by that algorithm of deep field.
Wait, what? I heard like
the shift when they're doing telescopes, they had to learn the algorithm for the shift to figure out what they're seeing because the resolution is so high.
Yeah, the adaptive optics.
Yep.
Joe, still find the meaning of life in this grim prognosis.
No, I'm sorry, there is none. All right, go on, Joe.
I'll be the dick. I'll take the Ken Ham approach.
Was I there?
How do you know it was so long ago? How would you be able to say this is actually true?
Same way detective knows a crime happened. We look at the evidence. So we have the cosmic microwave background, which was discovered completely by accident, and it's exactly what the standard model of the Big Bang at the time said should happen. Same with gravitational waves, and same with Hubble's expanding universe. If everything's expanding away from each other, obviously, in the past, it used to be closer together.
Can you bring up the CMB one more time?
Which one?
The full picture.
Full one. Not that one.
Yeah, okay. See that spot on the side?
Yes.
It's all blue?
Yes. I know, yeah, okay, go on.
So what do you think what was your explanation for the massive lack of activity in that area and the current lack of star systems?
We don't have one?
Are you sure?
I think so.
Okay. I mean, I could go on about it, but it's your presentation. And then what was the other thing? Antimatter, how come?
Oh, how come there's such a...
Yeah, why is there such a...
Okay.
big difference?
So, the important part to know first is that the universe is total zero energy. I didn't talk about that, but the universe is total zero energy. As gravity can have a negative energy. And at the start of the universe, we had matter and antimatter. And how it would work is we'd have a particle of matter collide with a particle of antimatter and create light or radiation at that point. The same thing. And the question is, why are we left with a universe of matter? At the time, at that kind of heat in the early universe, you can, the current idea is that they went through oscillations, that something actually shifted from matter to antimatter, similar to how neutrinos do right now with their flavors. So if you have, let's say you have a table full of spinning coins, and you roll a bowling ball through. Let's say it's a special kind of bowling ball that whatever it hit, it would place it up on heads. So pretty much the same thing that was going on is you had this oscillating, these oscillating particles that were changing from matter to antimatter, and once everything was said and done, once all the matter, or most of the matter and antimatter was destroyed, you're left with, for every 10 billion particles of antimatter, you had 10 billion and 1 particles of matter. So it was a very small shift, but if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't be here.
So there's not like antimatter hanging around somewhere.
Well, in labs.
In labs, that's
Right.
about it.
But not free in the universe, not in the wild.
Not in the wild.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever discovered any antimatter outside of the lab. No.
We had to create it.
So what exactly is antimatter?
All right, so it's pretty much exactly matter, but its charge is different, which means it acts like it's going back in time. So if you have, all right, here, I'll actually draw a picture here. All right, so I don't need most of this anymore. All right. All right, so if you have, do you need a graph? No, I don't probably. I probably don't need a graph, but whatever. I'll draw a graph anyways. All right, let's say you have an electron. All right, so it's, we have an electron moving through space. We'll call this space, actually. We'll call this time. All right, so it's moving through space and time. Now, as this is moving, it has a negative charge. So you can think of all these magnetic field lines, electromagnetic field lines, as going in, right? So it's moving and it's over here now. But if you were to play this backwards, it would look like a positive charge moving backwards in time. So it's exactly the same thing except for charge, which means when we look at it, it looks like it's going backwards in time. That's what people mean when they say antimatter moves back in time. It doesn't actually move back in time, it just acts like normal matter is going back in time.
The positron is the electron's opposite particle.
Yeah.
So that is generated in hospitals every day because the PET scan is positron emission tomography. So like your uncle who goes in for a scan is using it.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah. More questions? Yes, Chris.
No, I was pointing at you.
Oh, all right.
Oh, that's what are at the edges
The
of
edges,
space?
there is no such thing.
It's expanding.
Everything is expanding from everything else. Like, okay.
You just blew his mind.
Yeah, think about it like this.
It's hard to imagine 3D in a flat universe.
Yeah,
I still
exactly.
can't get
All right, so think about it like this. If I had a balloon, and if I put like, 3 or 4 dots on it, right? And I haven't blown it up yet. So they're pretty close together. So then, you blow it up and everything is expanding from itself. Every dot is expanding from every other dot. There is no center. Everything is expanding from each other. So at different points, you have a different horizon. At different points, you see the observable universe is something else to you at different points in the universe.
So is the flat universe the whole balloon then? The outside of the balloon?
No, the flat universe it's about the geometry of space. So that's about how light travels within it. So if we lived in a universe that was closed, light, if I looked far enough in that direction, I'd see the back of my own head, because light would go around the universe.
Now, if there is no edge, then how does that relate to the multiverse theory?
The same way it would if it did have an edge.
The
same way it would if it did. I mean, the whole multiverse thing is more of a mathematical thing. I don't do too much research into that.
That would be my field.
Next time,
Sure, if you want. Rapper Bob said the Earth was flat.
Yes, he did. And then Neil deGrasse destroyed him. That was pretty great.
All right, great job, man.
So for those that don't know, new faces here. Right now we're just gonna break up. If you guys want to hang out, you're free to do whatever you want.
Breaking up?
We are. Sorry. After that presentation. No, but yeah, so just have fun, you know, just again, we're trying to create a community where people like us who think the same way come together and have fun. We do have a special bonus presentation tomorrow. We typically don't do Wednesdays, but Adam's going to be presenting on everything that he's doing here and how to utilize it in a small business, live streaming and audio visual and all that good stuff. So if you're in the area, definitely pop in if the Snowmageddon doesn't get to us or whatever they're calling it. And the other thing, next Tuesday, or not next Tuesday, the following Tuesday, 2 weeks, we're actually going to be remoting in a speaker. So it's going to be our first experiment